Zven. So, gentlemen, what comes next? Put your prediction hats on. DeFisher, you're in the hot seat for this one.
Well, we saw the Gragas, we saw the Rise. I think that's probably not going to be the same with the top lane, seeing as they're already hovering a different pick now with the Echo. Echo would be a more standard pick very early on. He's a champion where together with Gnar and Shen and GP, they are like the 4 big picks in the top lane. And a lot of people like Echo and Gnar as the 2 blind pick options because they can basically outlane almost everything. So this would make more sense than showing that Rise so early.
Yeah, it would require Trick to go for a strong early gank or at least put some pressure in that Echo lane if they want to snowball expect. But
okay,
it actually looked like they want to go for an early Lucian here, not revealing their top laner. So they're holding their cards and they're revealing the AD carry that they're most likely going to be playing anyways.
Yeah, Lucian obviously as a counter pick to Sivir for G2, and G2
At
as
6.
a team at 6. We gotta highlight that at 6. But before that, Sivir is not really gonna kill you or destroy you or anything. So you get to level 6 and you can start putting a lot of pressure. And this is a change from G2, picking more for the bottom lane. Zven has been one of these guys very focused on Sivir and kind of downplaying Lucian a little bit and saying, he gets outskilled super hard, you know, it's so risky. Now he's picking it in the first game because G2 wants a strong 2v2 lane.
Yeah, strong 2v2 lane to maybe lean a little bit on Kobbe and Mikyx. But what we have to explain too is that counter picks no longer exist in the traditional sense that a lane gets murdered. It's more about who has control of where the minion wave goes. And that is essential for these teams, you know, in terms of their macro play. You know, if you control the wave, you get to leave first, you get the base first, you get to go somewhere else first on the map.
Going somewhere else first on the map, that's something Shen is exquisite at. And what I've learned from watching EU LCS, Shen plus Sivir equals awesome, plus Hecarim equals OP.
Yeah, I mean, OP, maybe not, but very strong. Like, this is the traditional bulldozer comps.
But it was pioneered by G2 Esports themselves.
It was actually G2 who started these kind of compositions, and it is very strong when you just put all the pieces together. Insane movement speed buff to a Hecarim with a Shen ulti on his back, and he flies into the backline. However, Lucian is actually one of the AD carries I would like to have against this kind of comp.
And it also makes it super interesting what the support pick debate becomes, because do you pick the Taric away from them, because Taric is the perfect piece to the bulldozer puzzle, or you go for maybe a Tahm Kench to eat up the target that gets targeted, but then mithy surprisingly goes for a Trundle.
Well, he goes for, I guess, the 3rd counter pick option in a sense. Like, is that a Shen who builds full tank? Well, here's a Trundle to remove some of those stats. And also for the laning phase, I feel like he's building against Sivir.
Yeah.
Trundle with the pillar behind Sivir. She can't really use the spell shield. So G2 is picking very heavily for that bottom lane and actually not to really counter the bulldozer comp specifically.
And this may actually cause Splyce to think an extra second about actually picking this Taric. Maybe they actually need to lock in a range support to get dominance over bot lane again, because Lucian Trundle is incredibly potent if they can pillar Sivir. There's one caveat: if there's a champion that can deny that blockage, it's gonna be the Tahm Kench.
If only there was one champion.
Yeah, if there only was a champion that could, you know, eat up the AD carry, place it somewhere else, spit it out.
Well, sadly for G2, we have Tahm Kench locked in. Syndra as well. This is very interesting because Syndra is being used quite a lot in North America. We don't see it too often in Europe. Really only Splyce are using it right now. And one of the main reasons is because Syndra is not that great going to a side lane. But in this case, you have the Sivir sitting side lane, pushing out, joining in the mid lane with Syndra. Or you put the Syndra side lane and have Tahm Kench mid, and he can always join and assist the Syndra when she's pushing.
Yeah, Tahm Kench is a bit of a solution to compositions that want a 1-3-1, but they have 2 champions that want to sit in the middle lane, like the Sivir and the Syndra, and he can be a buffer and just transport people when these low mobility champions either get collapsed on or you move instantly to the other side of the map.
And we see a little bit of a surprise from Perkz. AP Echo showing up in the very first game.
I'm very surprised there.
Yeah, I know. I decided to hit puberty at the same time. So here we are, guys. But Echo's been locked in.
I'm still waiting.
Let's talk about in-game.
We will have to talk about it.
You guys tilted me now. I'm out of here.
Just a few quick things. Of course, this is the first time Sencux has played Syndra all split long. And the last time we saw Trashy on Hecarim, it was against the Unicorns of Love, when they ran Scion support.
Very serious game.
Not that that means a whole lot. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here in the Torun Arena in Krakow, Poland. It's game 1 of the Summer Split players. They're ready. We're ready. Poland, are you ready? Let's get into the Summer Split finals.
Splyce is a good team, and they've been our main scrim partners for, I think, 7-8 weeks already.
In the 4th week or 5th week, we scrimmed them and they destroyed us, and we were like, they're good guys. Book more scrims with them.
The beauty of it all is that we practice against them so much that we know almost everything about them.
The defending Spring Split champions G2 taking on Splyce. Remember, for Splyce, this is for a spot in the World Championship, and the analyst desk was talking about one of their featured matchups of this Sencux v Perkz. And because it's Syndra v Echo, I think we have to follow this matchup a little more closely, especially because we've not seen Sencux on this champion. And Perkz, we have to question how good his Echo will be.
Yeah, but we need to look at Sencux too, who now has a lane-dominant kind of pick that needs a bit of a snowball going, whereas traditionally he's picked champions, you know, like the Talia or the Cassin that ramp up slowly, and he has consistently been falling behind in CS over time.
Yeah, it's definitely been a big problem for him. If we look at both Spring Split, Summer Split, and now also like playoffs here in Summer Split, all three of these situations or
periods of time, he's actually been the lowest ranked mid laner in terms of CS difference at 10 and 15 minutes. And obviously, again, if you play some of these champions that just get bullied and outscale, it's okay. But we look at a full year now. We're looking at a Spring Split, a Summer Split, and playoffs. And if you're consistently that low, well, then your laning phase is just not good enough. And there was even a game when they played, I believe against the Unicorns, it was where he had a Malzahar and just one ruined E-Tick just made it all, or was it against HGK rather, where it all fell apart. You know, he fell behind like 20 CS plus against Rio. So we need to keep an eye on Sencux and how he does in his early last hits.
Yeah, because the crazy thing when you look at this mid laner is how he would lose laning phases, we talked about, against Ryu, as you mentioned, versus H2K. But once he gets outside of the laning phase, he actually does a lot of damage. He has great damage per minute. He has a high damage share on his team, so higher than his AD carry. So he's a very good mid laner in fights, in team fights, but not really in the laning phase so far.
Yeah, and here we see a couple of examples of the laning patterns that an Echo wants to do. Because Echo can't close the gap level 1, obviously, he's actually going to push up the lane by spamming Q, and this is a trick a lot of mid laners are doing, even on Talia right now, where they push in lane, they path over to Raptors, and they try and steal 1 or 2 small Raptors to get level 2 once they get back to lane. Sencux shadowed that, covered it, and prevented that from happening.
Yeah, not only did Perkz want to steal away a Raptor, he also put a ward near it. Actually, never mind, it's Sencux put it right there because he wanted to stop him from it. Looked like it was Perkz to place. I actually would have liked Perkz to place that ward because I think that's something you can do to spot the enemy jungler, and if he's doing that camp or not, otherwise you know, okay, he skipped it, he's on red buff instead, and you can kind of track him that way. Perkz has come in for round 2, and now he places the ward we wanted before.
Yeah, because he needs to spot that Hecarim. Hecarim is obviously very predictable in his paths because he runs Ghost, no flash. He will now reveal that ward after he's done with the red buff, most likely once he passes 2 Raptors here. But then Perkz, once he pushes in the wave, he can bounce back, hit level 3, and then he has threat, because when Echo has all 3 spells, he can put the dome down, threaten with going in with E, and if he has jungle pressure, there is at least an opportunity to burn Syndra's flash in lane.
I mean, that's kind of the thing when you play Echo. It's all about being able to push in the lane. Because if you get pushed on the tower, it's very, very easy then for the enemy mid laner to hit you and harass you. So you gotta keep that lane at least even in the mid lane and just keep weaving these minions down here and then last at them in the end.
Yeah, taking a look at the Keystone Masteries, of course. Perkz running the Thunderlords.
No surge.
No surge this time around. You surprised by that, Kobbe?
I actually like it. I know I'm not Crepo, but I want to be Crepo today. I like it because what you will see Perkz do is go Proto Belt. So it's a lot about upfront burst, and he will most likely get a Lich Bane within the first 3 items as well. So Thunderlords, Proto Belt, Lich Bane, it's a lot of burst on some of these squishies like Syndra, like Sivir.
Yeah, it's incredibly nasty to play against the likes of a Syndra and a Sivir. Even with a spell sheet, you don't really survive. And the worst part is, he's like an assassin that jumps in, deals a ton of damage, and then just simply uses his ultimate to get out of the fight here. So it's really obnoxious to play against a strong AP Echo.
And that's why an item like Proto Belt and something like Thunderlords really benefits Echo, because his problem as AP was always that he couldn't use ulti offensively very often. Unless you're Faker, it's very hard to land this ulti on multiple members. So instead you need some extra items to help you get more damage out and not only use your basic rotation every single time. So that obviously is a big thing for Echo mid lane, but it is right now a pick we don't see too often. Obviously it is fairly risky. Often you see this AP Echo dive into a fight, get one shot because, whoa, you're not a tank. And then you can't really ult it back in time, or you have no damage because you couldn't reach the backline.
That's going to be fairly terrifying when you look at all the hard CC that Splyce can actually put down. Shen Torn, AoE stun from Syndra. If he's around long enough, maybe even Mikyx can get on the action. Obviously, game is paused very briefly. It looks like it's something with Perkz. Have no confirmation on that just yet. We've not touched too much on the other lanes.
Nope.
CS seems about even. Zven surviving these early levels until he maybe wants to start bullying Kobbe and Mikyx around a little bit.
Yeah, both junglers are similar in the sense that they do like farming up early and going full 4-6. Like Gragas has kind of one shot in a shotgun where he can gank without falling too far behind. And at the end of their paths, both junglers have converged on the top side of the map here. Perkz are just being cleared by Trick, and Trashy is finishing up his Gromp. This leads them to the next path in their decision tree. Do they base, clean up one more camp and then base, or do you actually sneak into lane for top? Because River is conventionally warded very often, but if the wave is positioned right, you can actually sneak into the lane, perhaps set it up for a counter gank, and that could tilt the top lane either side.
Yeah, and obviously G2 won't have this information, but Trashy hasn't even gone back to base once yet. Trick has already been back, already returned to the map, and he's full HP, so he's actually in a prime position now to set up that first gank. It is difficult, though, for Gragas to really gank a Shin and kill him due to the tankiness. Trashy, on the other hand, wants to go back, get a phage, and just keep power farming until level 6.
Yeah, and he was even spotted too, so G2 have slightly more...
The new way was, yeah.
The new information on Trashy's pathing, so they can maybe extrapolate where he's going, so that's why it's really important to slide in just a couple deep wards here and there, because you only need to see the jungler once to figure out what he's doing. You don't need constant vision on him. Just a little bit of information, or perhaps lack of information when you ward an already cleared camp, indicates where the jungler goes.
I'm very excited to see how these teams make use of some of this information as the series pans out. Update on the issue, it is a queue-related game setting for Perkz. We believe it's just a configuration setting, so you can hear the game sounds. That is just quickly verifying that Perkz can make an adjustment to his settings. I believe that...
They just went in game for a
once
couple of
they've
seconds.
checked, yeah, exactly. Just gone in, unpaused, check the setting out, and we'll then verify with Perkz whether or not his time winder is working happily or not.
You forgot to keybind.
That's what I think. That's what we're hearing. But we need to verify.
Sometimes you try again and you relog. And
it's a high-pressure situation.
It is.
Sitting on that stage. Even though for G2...
Do you smartcast, Trashy?
Always smartcast. Everything. Except for on a Thresh. Impossible to smartcast. Both Flay and Q.
Is that true? Impossible?
I only smartcast.
Okay. I guess I'm talking to the two guys who are shoutcasting with me, and it looks like the smartcast / setting has been fixed. Trick delivers a barrel, and Wunder's forced to flash.
Yeah, and we got to talk about this during the pause. Trick had already recalled once, was back on the map here and ready to actually gank, so he got a flash from top lane, and that's important for G2 being able to push out as well and get expect back to base.
And honestly, if you are a starting jungler and you need to learn something about jungle efficiency, you need to follow what Trick does, because somehow he always smoothly transitions through the game. He almost never falls behind. I had a chance to talk to him a little bit yesterday. I asked him, Trick, when's the last time you fell 2 levels behind in jungler? He goes like, never. I'm like, anytime it scrims. No, never. If jungler 2 levels behind, you FF and it's over. So he's really keen on keeping his levels at least equal to the enemy jungler, but still making an impact there. Just forces the flash on Wunder while preserving his own.
And there's a reason he's the 2-time MVP here in the European LCS. Every single game, you can feel the impact that Trick has. Despite the strengths, the public feel this game is very close. 53% of the votes. And I think that's probably a testament to some of the sloppy play from semi-finals,
Yeah, definitely we saw good things and bad things from both teams, so I think it's fair for game 1 to kind of want to test the waters and see, is one team really better? Also, judging from the third place game, H2K was a much better team than Unicorns of Love, and obviously Splyce had to go all 5 games against H2K to make it into the final line. It was so close in the end. Item-wise, we get to see some of the first items come in here. Perkz obviously has gone back and got a Dark Seal for a bit of extra sustain with Corruption Potion. Junglers will potentially see each other on the bottom side. Well, Trashy will know the ward has just been placed, and he didn't see the guys leave the bottom lane, so he knew Trick as well was on bottom side.
But it's a great ward because it prevents Mithy and Zven from actually having
and now he gets one.
manual face check going there. Because if you face check and you ward it and suddenly Ghost Hecarim comes out, you have to blow your summoners here. So there's good communication on the side of G2. Both Oracles get reset and status quo.
Both junglers here CS trading with each other, just putting a ward down here. You clear that one, pick up one CS. And they get to spot each other. Nothing really happens here. Hard for Hecarim pre-6 to gank anything anyway.
Yeah, and we see something that makes the Fishu very happy, which is Sheen first on Hecarim.
So I like when you go towards 24s, definitely, and not Cinderhulk. I actually had a chat to Maxlaw specifically about Sheen versus Phage. He prefers Phage every single time. Other junglers prefer Sheen. I don't think the difference is too huge. Just always go towards 24s as your first item and then go Cinderhulk after. Otherwise, you're way too slow at clearing and farming. And if you fall behind on Hecarim, you really have no impact.
Yeah, and that's something that Splyce definitely will need to cover up, but obviously the fact that Shen and Siva can amplify Trashy's engage potential as the game plays out. First back for AD carries has already happened. Kobbe and Mithy, they were bullying Zven and mithy just a little. BF sword and long sword. Zven and mithy trying to push that wave in and maybe reset it towards them, yet to back.
Yeah,
Looks
once
like
you get
quite
pushed
late.
in, you need to push in against the other side here, especially 72 CS is an incredibly high number to back on, but Zven has been almost CSing perfectly here, you know, at 7 minutes, 30 seconds, hitting 72 CS. He must have not barely missed any, really, and now you have the option to potentially go top, because they can trade sides of the map with the GP ultimate if they so wish, but they're hitting their power spike right now, because Sivir and Tahm Kench, they don't get any combat steroids. Yeah, Tahm Kench gets a little bit tankier and Sivir can run away from the fight, but if you're damaged, Lucian with items plus culling is incredibly strong.
Yeah, Splyce gets to push out the bottom lane here. They would have the option to then push it all the way in and actually recall and go to top side if they want to try and rush down a tower. But it is very difficult against Gangplank because he has barrels and ulti to wave clear. So very often you will lose that trade. It's one of the things Shen doesn't offer is that wave clear. So suddenly swapping against GP is actually not that smart of an idea, and therefore they have to stay bottom lane and risk playing against this level 6 Lucian. Trashy has hit level 6 now, he's looking for a gank on Perkz, but so is Trick.
Oh, this is a 2v2 in the mid lane. Sencux not going to be able to find the stun, but Perkz, the power is unleashed. Scatter the weak, will not connect onto Trick. He's flashed away. The onslaught of shadows finds nobody. First blood to Splyce. It's Wunder that gets it. The Stand United delivers him to Expect's waiting hand.
Oh, Wunder just taunted 2 members, but he did get close enough to the tower and took a few shots. Plus the GP ulti means he goes down as well. 1 for 1. A lot of spells being used here. Bottom lane.
Run away!
That was a defensive one from Kobbe at first. Trashy does show up as well. Will be spotted.
Crepo, you called it. It's the runaway button in terms of this match.
Also run in a circle bottom right here.
Just press the button, whatever you do, press it. No, it's really important once this Trundle hits 6 that you are incredibly careful in this lane, because Trundle ultimate plus culling on a single target means he's dead. He's done for. Cheeky ward right there over the wall too is really good to kind of fake teleports, because yes, Expect's teleport is down, but Perkz one's is up, so if you get a ward over that spot, it's outside of Tri-Brush range from Pink Ward, and you can actually send in Perkz in the backside. Good pillar here.
A lot of damage. Kobbe not going to find the boomerang, and Zven dashes away.
Yeah, dashes away once the boomerang comes out. You need to look at Perkz, what he can do. He died, so he lost a little bit of advantage in lane while he was getting ganked, but Expect picked up that kill while farming in the top lane, so he now even out that matchup.
Definitely important when you have Gangplank. He gets scaling Trashy. Going for Perkz again.
Oh, take a look, but I think there's going to be some trouble here. Perkz is
Yes,
going to
Trick
throw
is
down
done.
the parallel convergence. Here comes Trick. Scatter the weak. Not going to really lock anyone down. And Trick in the right place at the right time prevents any further deaths.
And I like the focus here from both junglers. When you play against a melee champion in the mid lane, you can very often go for these ganks, and Trick knows that, so he's here to help his mid laner. Over and over. Bottom lane, another trade.
Oh, Mikyx in so much trouble. Already exhausted Zven. The culling's flying wide. There's now a teleport in the mid lane. Sencux is the target. Perkz looking for more.
Good fight.
Flash blown in trade for the TP, and it looked like Mithy got away with his life.
If he flashes any later, he will carry Perkz with him in the air. Perkz will land in the tower and will be able to focus him down and then just simply ulti out of that exchange. So it's really important when you play versus Echo that you flash him behind.
Very standard start for Perkz as well in terms of items. Same, honestly, for the Syndra on the other side. You want to get that early Negatron cloak. It's a ton of extra AMR for you. You need it to survive that burst coming. Plus your own ulti makes it very, very hard for Syndra to burst down an Echo with early magic resist and that extra HP he gets.
And then for Syndra, picking up the early lost chapter, it's kind of reminiscent of Catalyst back
Best item in the game.
Just allows you to sustain through the lane. So much mana you get back from it as you level up. So it's very important for kind of spamming champions that really need their spells to take control of the lane.
This is basically where Perkz also needs to decide. Does he want to rush straight towards Abyssal Scepter? Does he want to go proto build after the Negatron to get a bit of extra damage? Bottom lane, once again, Trashy's on his way. This ward is just outside the tri-bush, so they will see him, but it's very late.
Oh, here comes Wunder. Zven's in trouble, not even going to flash away. Trashy gets a solo kill with no support. How hungry are Splyce? They've invested a teleport for
That
this.
actually tells us that gank could have worked even without the teleport here. So really good pathing from Trashy. And this is, we saw one part of the bulldozer already in mid. Now we see the strength of Trashy once he rushes in. Zven will have an incredibly hard time staying alive later in this game.
We gotta highlight though, G2's bottom lane.
Overextended.
Pushing towards that tower without any backup possible. No TP Perkz, no TP from Expect, and a Hecarim that can just rush towards you. That was very greedy, they got punished, but because they got top tower, at least they get something. If they can defend bot lane here with Gragas, they will win out on this
more.
trade.
They might get more. Wunder looking for the taunt. Expect flashes away. Wunder decides not to chase further. Not the highest damage, actually. Ninja Tabby and that Balmy Cinder. So, Splyce investor teleports, get a kill, and the Dragon. They don't equalize the tower down bottom. G2 get the additional gold, and they've got themselves 1,000 advantage. Crepo, worthwhile trades?
I mean, definitely Splyce is doing well here. They were already on the verge of losing at tower. This G2 falling for the gank is honestly the biggest mistake, because they could have just backed off and said, you know what, we're getting an objective on the top side. That generally means we have to play passive on the bot side. When you can take objectives and take wins on both sides of the map, then you're winning that hard. That doesn't even matter. Then macro doesn't apply anymore. Just always respect your opponent.
Oh, the Tahm Kench trap, hide around the corner without vision. Ulti in behind the enemy AD carry to try and set up a play. Normally you also want your jungler here, but Trashy is very low. He's just been farming the jungle after getting that kill in the bottom lane. And Perkz,
it's a long lane right now for Wunder. He could technically be collapsed on. That used to be the strategy against the global. You know, you don't take the global to the bot fight. You take out the global first, then you go fight somewhere else.
this is obviously where the pink wards are important. Like,
wonderful.
We like to talk about them. You see in your map right here, the pink ward being placed in the pixel bush towards the rift hill from G2 allows a very easy route for Perkz to just walk from mid to top side if he wants to put pressure on Wunder. Wunder now either wants Rift Scuttler or check that bush to actually kill it. Perkz is overextending slightly in mid though.
Gonna be in trouble. Parallel convergence will at least stun up Trashy. Stand United's gonna deliver Wunder. Not gonna be a kill, but the flash taunt. Chrono break backwards. Perkz makes it out alive.
Frame perfect ultimate by Perkz, and then he gets out. Honestly, predicting the flash count by Wunder, and on the exact right moment when he needed to press the button, he pressed it. So that button was definitely working. And Expect still pushing.
That was actually such an insane play from Perkz. The reaction time, clicking that ulti just in time, dodging the taunt. If he gets hit by taunt, he dies. Bottom lane, another trade against Mikyx.
Yeah, but look at Trashy. He's got flash. He's got barrel. Mikyx and Kobbe have got support from Trashy, and G2 decide to peace out. Sven was running low.
And this is the hard part about this matchup. You want to focus the Sivir because you have so much damage, but Tahm Kench will eat her anyway, so you skip that step and you start focusing on Tahm Kench, but then you have to be wary of the counter ganks. And here we see it again. Perkz is desperate to take that mid tower down to get map control. Trashy gets a good fear off, but when Shen lands, the right moment, whoop, gets a flash out.
Unreal.
Beautiful.
That's 8 ping for you. Can't do that.
Mechanics.
Yeah.
Coming in from Perkz, showing this echo here. Can definitely work in the mid lane. He's slightly ahead in CS. He's been ganked quite a few times. Picked up 1 assist, and we get to see this build as well, where he goes for the proto build after the Negatron cloak. He wants to rush towards that extra damage item for himself, where Abyssal Scepter is the very defensive one. He wants the extra DPS from the proto belt, which is very important for Echo.
Yeah, and you've got to look at the different CS numbers, the different itemization here. -10 on that Syndra in the mid lane. Morello picked up. Triforce almost picked up for Trashy. And there's a teleport down bottom. We'll continue that talk in a moment. Kobbe's going to get gobbled up by Mikyx. Mikyx's low. The barrel throws him backwards, and Kobbe gets spat out. Expects looking to run him down. Trinity falls on the Warhammer. That's a kill for G2. They extend their lead further.
And this is what happens when you invest your globals towards a lane where you don't get a kill. Wunder used his ulti towards the mid lane, didn't pick up the kill because Perkz outplayed him, and suddenly TP advantage for G2. They pull it off beautifully towards the bottom lane. 2 more kills, another tower. This game is suddenly snowballing heavily in favor of G2.
Yeah, we saw the value of Exhausted too. Mithy just slows down Kobbe just a tad. Kobbe and Mikyx were doing so well, staying even in this matchup against the Lucian Trundle, never really dying, but then suddenly the bot lane party happens. More members than you can handle join the fray, and they fall and immediately lose their tower. And right now is G2 Esports with a complete grasp on the game.
And also if we look at AD carry builds, after Perkz is done playing around the mid lane, does actually get stunned.
A lot of damage.
Problem
Chrono
is-
break.
This is the issue.
Regens it.
He has early magic resist, so he blocks like 40-42% of the magic damage from the Syndra, and he then ultis to get back HP. It's really hard for Syndra to burst him down, and then she loses a lot of value. She almost becomes more of like utility machine, where she can stun multiple members in these fights, or you burst down the Lucian.
And the Syndra will over-index in more damage to kind of solve that problem, which means Perkz' base damages combined with the Proto Belt will take her out. Perkz is an assassin that somehow is incredibly mobile, swift, and can reset its HP, so it's incredibly annoying to play against his Echo once he gets going.
And I really like this item choice from Zven as well on the Lucian. Always the decision between Ghostblade or going for the Essence Reaver. Ghostblade with the flat penetration against multiple tanks is not that effective. So it's better to go for Essence Reaver, the more crit-based build, also the better late game build when you play against Shen, Hecarim in this situation here. So smart choice from him. And G2 looking very good here in game 1.
Yeah, we're 17 minutes in. They've got a 3,000 gold lead, 4,000 at this point. They're up in kills, up in towers. The only thing that they don't have yet is a dragon. But that's not going to help Splyce yet because they're just falling further behind and they've got no control. It seems like what G2 does works.
Yeah, but we have to return to some of the notions that we were looking at prior to the game. It was that Expect was going to have an incredibly hard time versus Wunder, and that the bot lane was heavily going to lean on their opposition or opposing members on Splyce, and that's not happening. Kobbe and Mikyx actually did a great job staying even, but Expect actually is pulling ahead here, mostly because Wunder was leaving the lane to influence mid lane.
Yeah, definitely Wunder's been very active on the map, but that's the thing about GP. You just pop your ulti and you're technically also active on the map. But also it's a good matchup for GP we see very often. Maybe we have to question Splyce going for Shen because Wunder does well when he's a split pusher, a bit like Vizichachi yesterday. On Shen, it's hard for him to really take over the game. And he's not been able to have much of an impact in this one specifically, and he won't be a split pusher either.
Splyce's power comes from grouping though, and really combining all the puzzles or the pieces of the puzzle, right, and completing it with that bulldozer composition, taking out a target.
And here we go. Mickey's gonna use that Abyssal Voyage just to push G2 away.
It's cheaper than Cube.
Yeah, wasn't really engage opportunity. And Splyce, in game 1 of this best of 5, remember, they're playing for a spot at Worlds. G2 are confirmed, regardless of the result today. And they will have that pool 2 seed, but
they're playing for pride.
Very outspoken about Zven and Mithy in particular. They don't want to be the losers. And I've even heard Perkz talking on Twitter about how if they win the split, even though their MSI performance cost that pool 1 seed, they will be taking, it was their fault.
They take the blame. Yeah.
They take the blame, they take their position, and they don't hurt another team. And I think that's a very mature, very good way of looking at it.
They still hurt our pride as European fans.
They can earn it back at Worlds. No pressure, boys.
Definitely, yeah. You know, make semi-final at least.
It's gonna be easy this year. It's not like there's any other good teams.
No, there's just a few here and there in Korea, and maybe Team Solomid. A few other teams, EDG. Yeah, a couple of Chinese ones.
Yeah, did they finish the regional qualifier today? I think
they did. I managed to qualify.
All of China locked in.
So we get Amazing J back at Worlds, a guy that people will know from international tournaments. They mainly laughed at him, but he will change that.
It's his year.
Yeah, this is his year.
Nobody laughs at the great Amazing J 4 times in a row.
We'll find out in about 6 weeks' time.
You happy, Trevor? They got the dragon
now
as well.
Now they have a dragon. They're even on Dragon's Bow. I prefer Infernal. That's just a preference. Triforce now finished for Trashy. Going to work his way towards that Cinderhulk trick. Getting tankier and tankier. Runic Echoes plus the Spirit Visage. It's not the beefiest of Gragas yet. But he will build it up slowly but surely, and he's not going to be the focus anyway.
And as the map is opening up, it's G2's prerogative to keep it open and keep Splyce spread out. They don't want to allow Splyce to group. And the main folks right now, and the main people we have to follow is honestly Mithy and Trick, and see where they put their vision down. What areas of the map are they going to contest? How are these pink wards going to move? There's a little bit of poke here coming on Trashy.
Wow.
Zven not afraid to play aggressive.
And we just want to see 2 teams as well who actually plays the entire map. Because a big problem for European playoffs is a lot of teams will just like kind of go mid and try and fight each other over and over and ignore the macro part of the game. Both these 2 teams
to do it.
Exactly. Both these teams are here because they're actually very good at playing the entire map. They understand how to play 1-3-1. The Syndra can sit bot lane because of the Tahm Kench. She can always ult it down to help her, but she's still not really winning this lane due to how well Perkz has been playing it and this Echo pick.
And these guys as well, they were calling all the kind of Aram-esque playstyles and a macro, so they better perform here and actually show us the proper 1-3-1, because otherwise they'll have to eat their socks.
Yeah, double teleport's going to help that one out. G2 pushing their vision deeper into this bottom quadrant of the jungle, as our observers are highlighting for us. And caught a glimpse of Sencux just sort of waiting in the wing for Perkz, but mid tower is the focus. G2 uses gold advantage. They caught Mickey. He's already flashed away. Defensive ulti from Kobbe. Here comes Trashy. He boots Expect towards the tower. Wunder's in the back line. Puts down the Spirit's Refuge. Auto attacks are blocked, but Perkz has got the kill. Chrono breaks out. Scatter the weak, no stun. Splyce are turning around. A flash forward. Kobbe's got one. Expect is down. Trick body slams away. The fight is won and the tower stands for Splyce.
G2 ends up using so many cooldowns, first trying to kill Mikyx, and Perkz didn't even get to join the fight. He probably just ulted right back to his lane when he realized the fight was lost. We got to see the bulldozer in action. Splyce diving that back line.
Perkz jumped in and finished off Mikyx, but honestly, the way he survived, we need to watch that again because he sidestepped quite a few abilities here. And it's actually remarkable that a rookie like him can play this confident in a major arena on stage in the finals.
Also gotta look at this potential little fight. No, I don't think it's gonna happen. But once we get the replay, pay attention to Wunder as well on Shen.
So much to watch for.
He's so quick when it comes to taunting forward, then changing direction with flash and actually managed to hit Zven, lock him down, force Zven to hit him only, and then the rest of Splyce could join after and end up getting a few kills. Let's see it again.
Just Mikyx sidestep. That's all you need to watch for. Then appreciate what was happening with Zven.
Well, Zven right now, obviously in a good position, gets to hit. Trashy joins, and now look at Wunder here once he joins. Taunts, and then instant flashes to the side. Gets onto the AD carry. He's tanking 4 members right now. And yes, Perkz gets the 1 kill, and then he goes back to his bottom lane. But that's on the support only. And not enough really here for G2. They use so many cooldowns on Mikyx. Splyce ends up getting a few return kills.
Yeah, and that's honestly, it's by merit of 2 players.
By few, I mean 1.
Technically a few.
Technically a few. Wasn't wrong.
2 players performing here, despite a goal deficit here in Wunder and Mikyx, because Mikyx stayed alive. He juked a body slam, a barrel, stayed out of cannon barrage, and forced Perkz to kind of use his 1 damage spike before returning to lane on the support, and that made it a clean 1-for-1 trade here. So Splyce, they're fighting back, but they're still facing a very large goal deficit.
It is still the power of this Splyce composition when you have all 5 together in these fights. You're able to get onto the AD carry. Expect it's going to be fine. Trashy was hovering around the bottom side, but decides to back away.
I want to go back to that line that you said, Crapo. Mikyx, a rookie, you know, this is the guy that came into Splyce at the beginning of the split, in conjunction with all the experience from Spring. And Splyce just went from being what we thought was a middle of the tier team to now the 2nd best in Europe at the moment. And Mikyx has consistently performed, and more importantly, he's improved on his weaknesses over the split.
Because he used to get caught a lot, and it's actually the reason he died a lot is, according to many of the Splyce members, exactly that. When Mikyx sees the skill shots, he'll try and dodge it first, and then decide if he wants to flash. Because he always wants to go for the outplay, and that's actually how he ends up dying in a few occasions. But it leads to plays where he can actually sidestep it quite.
It's also the attitude of champions, you know. Good damage under Sencux there from Perkz. Yeah, Sencux, this Syndra pick down now, what, 25 CS, got a Void Stop 2nd item. I'm not feeling the impact yet.
Well, I want to give a lot of credit to Perkz, honestly, and the way he's been playing Echo against the Syndra specifically. Also with him now going for Hourglass, like, it's going to be so hard to kill him through Hourglass, his ulti, the other defensive choices he does have. Really, really tough for Splyce to deal with this Echo.
Yeah, this Hourglass will just allow him to go into the fight, press it, and replace his ultimate, essentially. Because before, he needs something to buy time. Either he gets out of the fight immediately with his ultimate, but he's too far out. And additionally, if an Echo uses an Hourglass in his fight, his Shadow will trail 2 more seconds towards him, and he's actually a very lethal bomb in the front line because he now can actually ulti in place if he waits 2 extra seconds after that. So that's a very big threat here. It changes the scope and the way you play Echo entirely in these mid-game fights.
Now I want to go back to the point you just made about Mikyx, obviously as a support coming in, a rookie. While he did die a lot, he actually in the regular season had 25% of the deaths of Splyce for the entire split. Joined by Wunder also at 25%. So together, you know, as friends, they could die half the time for Splyce. In playoffs, in the semifinal versus H2K, he only died 7 times in 5 games. He really changed a lot. And whenever you talk to him, it's all he talks about really is like, overextend, I died again, you know, no, but this time I didn't die, you know. He's really been working a lot on this positioning on the map. And that is very important to track in this game as well. Because often the support can get caught out, can die. Luckily, TimKench takes a lot of time before he dies.
A whole lot of time, and with the added bonus of having a Shen and Hecarim for the front line, it makes that a little easier. Splyce were grouping up in the mid lane, Wunder's pushing down bottom, all teleports are available. And now they've managed to jump onto Perkz. He's not completely overextended this time around. A lot of support from G2 coming from the river. And it just looks like the map play is the order of the day. Look at this, G2 plus 5k.
Yeah, but you see the map shrinking because G2 is putting so many pink wards in that river, really focusing on vision denial, and Splyce desperate to get in there. It's going to be hard because if you have to walk into parallel conversions potentially, body slam flash, all these Punisher moves ready.
And the item
break
difference.
Splyce apart.
Crap, but the item difference, not only the tools, Hourglass is up, more Mortius is up. Not even a Cinderhulk yet for Trashy. It's a tough situation. You can see Trashy. That's just second and a half, 50% of his HP.
Trundle ultimate.
But this is where G2 guys really need to start getting even bigger lead, potentially a Baron, and actually win the game, because they have this item advantage, 3 items completed on multiple members, where only like a component on the side of Splyce. Because while G2 is ahead and they're able to play 1-3-1, it still definitely feels like Splyce can win fights. They have a good composition to win these fights here, still 26, 27 minutes into the game. So G2, they want to be able to now take that big fight, take the Baron, and really push towards the Nexus.
Yeah, and they're looking for a couple extra pink wards to place in that river, then control that, and when they see Splyce reveal anybody, maybe just put some pressure and get a couple deep wards in the enemy jungle. But Splyce is doing a great job aggressively defending that. Look at the 2 pink wards they've placed at blue, and then at the pixel brush right next to it. They really don't want G2 to get any vision beyond this point, because then you get choked out, and then you're forced to face check. And in between, potentially sending in a tanky member, flanking with a Hecarim Shen, or just a blue trinket, Splyce is stalling G2's attempt at closing out the Baron area.
Yeah, we can see both teams lining up on the map though, very specifically. Perkz is in the top lane because the objective for G2 is that top side of the map with the Baron. Splyce sending a Trashy up to try and interrupt him. He will be able to just jump over the wall though, but the reason it's important to have Perkz on top side is because he's the guy who can perma-push his lane. And once you push that lane all the way down to the tier 2 tower, you get free access to the enemy jungle. You start warding up the jungle, and suddenly you have vision both there and at the Baron. And you can start, you know, fiddling around with the Baron itself. You can see the enemy team when it comes to stop you, and you know when to stop and turn around and fight, or when to just finish the Baron.
So we've spoken a whole lot about vision, how Splyce want to deny it, how G2 want to extend it. This is the first sort of aggressive move from G2 in a few minutes' time. All started by Perkz pushing the wave out.
It's all based on a couple of little pieces of information. You push in a wave, which means another guy has to catch the wave.
Oh, there's the Perkz we know. Playing brave, playing on the front line.
Cosplaying that wave. And he can't. But he's just aggressively playing because he knows he has Zhonya's worst case. His teammates are around. It's so important. Like, you're fighting for a ward, but it means so much. But Perkz is going more aggressive here. Good gobble from Mikyx.
It's the Devour down. Perkz
Now everything is dark.
Support.
It's so dark for Splyce right now. They're so afraid of face checking. They may have to use that blue trinket that's still available. There they go.
Use it now, just in time actually to spot the Baron being started. We'll still move in, and the problem for Splyce is though when they actually do engage, they can't see who they're engaging against, really. They don't know where G2 is standing on the map.
Yeah, and G2 peace out. They run away from the Baron. Perkz was still on the front line. He had Trick standing behind him, but now G2 backed away. That vision play has been defended for now.
Yeah, because they need to hit mid again. Every time you make a play, you have a 30-second window, because when the next wave comes into mid lane, that's when you need to push it out again, reset mid. That's when Trashy's going into clear vision, or maybe dual trick here.
Wow, got the flash already. Splyce, they're split up. Trashy's already used his ghost. He's already used his onslaught of shadows, and G2 send Trashy back into the fray. He's not down yet, but Perkz is looking for him. A Devour will save Trashy's life for a few seconds. Kobbe flashes away. Boomerang Blade is going to get dodged by the chrono break, and on the back line, Wunder's killed by G2. The lead is extended.
Perkz was keeping 3 members of the Splyce team busy in the front line, so G2 with the remaining 4 members could clean up the back line. They have complete control over the Baron area. Splyce tried to contest, but they failed. They lost, and they're looking to lose this Baron.
It's just so hard for Splyce, because when you're walking into this river, you only have one way out, really, and that's the same push and entrance you just took towards the river. So once G2 can collapse from 2 different angles, well, you're never going to get that coordinated fight where you dive the enemy backline. No, you get flanked yourself, and then G2 can win the fight easily.
And this was all built on the foundation of this vision control by G2. Trick, respect flashing, really important now. Splyce walked into a funnel. Pillar plus GP ulti splits off everybody. Look at Perkz. He's coming from the left side, and he's going to be zoning 3 members.
And this is the problem you can see, guys. They only have this one entrance they can run in and out of, and it's just not instance like Echo here when you want to avoid pillars and GP ultis. There's too many AoEs from G2 to just punish multiple Splyce members in that little choke point.
And just on the top of your screen, we saw mithy with a timely exhaust right before Sencux's ultimate came out. He just exhausted it, and he survived, so Sencux couldn't clean any of it up. There was a Shen trying to tank 4 members, but he was getting beat down by a mob of G2 members, so unfair numbers, but that's just the way the game goes at this point, and G2 clean execution of the Baron play.
Exactly, it's very, very good to see G2 not rush anything, not overextend, do something stupid like they actually did against Unicorns of Love very often in the semi-final. Setting up vision, as you said, setting up Baron, it's multiple steps. It's just steps again and again and again. Sometimes you have to go back and start again from step 1, and then you move forward with a few more steps. And you keep doing it. It might not be very exciting always to look at. Push wave, push wave, set up set of vision. It's exciting for us, but I understand people want a lot of kills, but I want to see a team execute cleanly.
Yeah, especially a team like G2 who've had so many critics, who have made so many mistakes for so many weeks, really. They've got a 9,000 gold lead. They've just toppled over 2 towers. Look at the item advantage. Now it's just a matter of closing out. And both teams start looking towards the next game in the series. Trashy's gonna try one last attempt, but Miky's already dead. Onslaught of Shadows splits up G2, and Sencux spreads out the team with Scatter the Weak. Perkz jumps over the wall. Thunderlords comes down in conjunction with a Time Winder. Trashy's on the front line, takes a small parlay for his trouble. Chrono Break, no, that's the Hourglass. Perkz has already used his Chrono Break, gets chunked down. Just a little too eager in that fight.
And that is what they call cocky movement there by Perkz. Rather unnecessary to go in for the second time, but he survived a very long time. And we did see a glimpse of what he could do now that he has the Hourglass available, because the natural reaction, hang on.
A lot of damage there onto the
Wunder.
inhibitor. Here comes Wunder from behind. 2-man taunt. Boomerang comes out. There's no ultimate. May Perkz have cost the inhibitor. Double kill for Kobbe. Tricks the target. He sidesteps the dodge with that big body slam. And Miky, I think he canceled the Abyssal Voyage. Now they turn their attention to Trick. The tongue lash misses as well. For a big guy, he's got quick feet. Dodges everything. Trick manages to make it out alive, and the inhibitor stays standing.
Yeah, that Greg has been squatting because that's a firm booty. Just a tongue lash, an inch too short. The Sencux ball throw also just too short. Trick managed to get out of there, but that's honestly G2. As we are praising...
It's the caster curse again, when you finally praise G2 for clean execution, multiple steps executed well. This was okay from G2 to get the first kill. Zven is out of any sort of danger, and they're able to pick up 1 kill, and then Perkz, without his ulti available, he dives in.
I mean,
right here, you're fine. Just back away, go back towards your mid lane, and then it wouldn't...
Look at T2, the rest of the members. They were all ready to mid because nobody expects your mid laner to go back in there.
It wouldn't be a G2 game without Perkz doing something like this. Every single time he has to do it. We just praised him.
Though.
I think I already know which replay Jankos and Vander are going to analyze after the game. Because right here, Zven uses Flash in the earlier replay when Trashy engaged. He had to use his defensive summoners, which means Wunder can go for the back and land a beautiful 2-man taunt. And then right here, just oh so close. Trick body slams out. He gets a double ultimate, and then gets right out of range for Tongue Lash.
And when we come out of the replay, Splyce were able to pick themselves up the Ocean Drake, the last regular Elemental Drake before Elder, as well as that bottom tower. It is very, very small victories. They are still in a 10,000 gold hole. They have an exposed inhibitor. They're down 5 towers. Assuming G2 go back to this control style, they should still be able to close this out cleanly. But you can see the strength of the team fight from Splyce.
Well done, Perkz. Obviously, he was dead before we showed this, or before we started counting in that last fight. But yeah, severe late game. Here's Trashy. Good block from Mithy.
Onslaught of Shadows finds nobody, but Zven's in trouble! The Onslaught of Shadows and Spirit's Refuge has already been used. Zven continues to run for his life. The flash was used. Kobbe's trying to chase further, but here comes Perkz. He phase dives forward, and the fight turns around. Perkz is down! Perkz is down! Splyce are down 10,000 gold, and they're winning the fight! Elder Dragon's up in a minute. The Abyssal Voyage, it delivers Splyce to the back line. Have they bitten off more than they can chew? No, because Miky on Tom is hungry as hell, and he's not going down yet.
And this is what we talked about earlier. While G2 were ahead and they looked very, very good, it always felt like Splyce still had a chance in these big 5-on-5 team fights. They're consistently able to catch Zven and force him to play defensively, and Perkz dives in, didn't get to use any of his defensive choices here, and just dies, honestly, for nothing. Good engage from Splyce. This is what you can do with these bulldozer comps.
But Zven survived here. Trick and Zven work together to kite out, and Perkz goes on the offensive himself here, knowingly playing as a Syndra, and doesn't get any Zhonya's off because he dies mid-push from Trashy. Trashy with a beautiful E there on the Hecarim, and that was enough. So really good target selection there, because as a team, to all commit to a champion that has double kind of fight reset in Zhonya's and then his ultimate on Echo, they still managed to nuke him down, so really good timing there on the engagement slice.
I mean, that's also the way you have to play against Echo in fights. You want to burst him when he comes in. If you don't kill him, at least you force him to either use Hourglass, so he won't do anything for a few seconds, or ulti back towards where he came from, so you won't kill your backline. Because for Splyce, it's honestly so much about just letting Kobbe sit there on Sivir and fire away on multiple G2 members. And really, it is only Perkz who can dive and kill that AD carry. But when he jumps in and gets instantly pushed back, pushed away, and bursted down, well, then suddenly Kobbe doesn't die.
It's very rare to get 3 or 4 or 5 of those team fights in a game where you are down this far for Splyce. But they've got 2 GAs, and GA picked up by Expect as well, so there's even more fight resets and fight elongations. But Splyce, they're showing they can find those opportunities.
And remember, this is a best-of-5 series, so even though if they may not make it, their resilience means so much in the scope of further games here. They go down fighting, showing that they can fight back from deficit. It means so much.
Oh, parallel convergence as well as
Zoning
Cannon
over.
Barrage. That is a very big ultimate for a potential Baron fight. That's up in 3 seconds.
Ghost here, Sencux trying to get a cheeky little pick there on Zven. He's respecting it, but they've lost mid lane priority, which puts them the kind of macro play in Splyce's hand.
G2 will be able to wave clear mid very easily though, and it consistently becomes a game of who can push the mid lane first and then move into the river and start setting up vision for this Baron. It always means you need to have pink wards and sidestone wards ready once you get that river control, otherwise you don't really do anything. And while the goal is still in favor of G2, we get so far into the game that it barely starts meaning anything. Like, compare items on Kobbe and Zven here. It's literally just some lifesteal Zven has over Kobbe, and that's it.
Yeah, and Kobbe is, as a champion, obviously more catered towards dealing damage in these late-game teamfights as the Sivir versus the Lucian, so that additional 10% lifesteal isn't going to really matter too much. We saw the bot lane push in, so now Shen is freed up, and also just offers a window of opportunity for Mikyx to replenish his sidestone. Because we saw Splyce move in just as the official explained, but they couldn't really litter the area with any wards, so this is a well-needed kind of breath of relief here for Splyce to reset the map, get the wards out, get cancel on the base.
Yeah, good cancel. All right, gentlemen, Baron is live. 39 minutes in. Gold values are becoming less significant, and a minute till Elder. That's not something you want to trade. Both teams have 2 dragons, both are relatively good, but surely Baron is what's going to make or break this game.
Yeah, a lot of members from Splyce were back in base to reset and buy some items, but they do have time Kench ulti if needed, and they're already here.
G2 are split though, look at the minimap. Expect's not there. Splyce, they're not pulling the trigger yet.
Zven just went from 50% health to 95 just of life-stealing off a single ward that Mikyx placed.
Good luck killing him.
This is a good start though. They know there's no wards in this area, and they have 2 members from G2 showing mid lane to kind of bait Splyce, being like, oh guys, you see us, we actually not on it. They're moving in now.
Stand United's been used. Look for the onslaught of shadows. Trashy has to get a priority target. Perkz is jumping onto the back line. Sencux unleashes his power, but the fight is on 2 lanes. It's not going to end well
The
for
tanks are dying.
GA's already popped. Wunder's in trouble. Where is Mithy and Kobbe? Kobbe's got a lot of HP, but he's got no front line to use it. Kobbe's running for his life. Here comes Perkz. Phase dives forward. Chrono breaks out. G2 may have just won the game.
Perkz alone managed to zone away the 2 carries from Splyce, so it was just Trashy and Wunder alone versus 4 members of G2. They couldn't survive long enough. Perkz standing there, forcing 2 squishy targets to not enter the fight, won everything here for G2.
Yeah, and at the same time, both Mithy and Trick did such a great job peeling away these tanks. Base damage alone, they can technically take down Zven, but they weren't allowed to do so. There was a good exhaust, and Trundle ultimate came out. Trick was body blocking the best he could, and honestly, the onus of this fight is on Wunder and Trashy pulling the trigger too early. Look, they want to get influence in this fight. They want to contest this Baron, because right now, Splyce don't know what's going on, but they pulled the trigger too early.
Yeah, now look at Perkz here in this fight. Once the tanks dives in, Kobbe and Sencux down the bottom of your screen. They're not able to really enter now. GP ulti and this Echo on the side. 3 members are looking towards Perkz, and they're not able to catch him. Great ulti from Expect as well to just block the entire river, and that means 2 tanks goes down and no one dies on the side of G2.
Yeah, we saw a perfect 2-man body slam, well held there by Trick as Zven stepped back and continuously kept hitting double shots on everybody in the front. Right now, this is the final contestant for this Dragon.
Well, Dragon is the target. Perkz is already killed Mikyx. He just gets deleted after using the Abyssal Voyage. Elder Dragon's still the target. Sencux is going to get dropped. Zven gets the kill credit. Kobbe's the target as the Chrono Break buys more time. Zven flashes forward. The shutdown kill. Splyce are routed. They are killed. They are aced. And G2 are looking for the base.
Zven with a quarter grill straight out of the Matrix. He loses with the culling and then flashes in piercing light. Follow-up, beautiful fight there. Really good awareness, and he knows when to step forward. He knows when he can deal the killing blow.
40-second death time is across the board, and G2, uncontested, walk into the base. The 5-man stack had to fight hard right at the end.
Zonias works.
Zhonya's does work this time round for Perkz. G2 Esports strike first at a potential back-to-back split title.
This was a game where G2 honestly looked like the better team for almost the entire game long. A few great engages from Splyce kept it somewhat even, never in gold, but in terms of how the fights were going. But then in the end, we get to see the power of a late game GP ulti zoning off and Perkz sitting in that side here, blocking these squishy members from joining the fight. 2 tanks goes down, gives the Baron over to G2.
We saw good things from Splyce in the fact that Kobbe and mithy held their own in the bot lane and that there was aggressive plays globally from Wunder. Splyce also understood how to win fights with their compositions, but they're playing a composition pioneered and kind of brought to the scene by G2 themselves, and they understood it better. So they kept the map open, and barring that one mistake from Perkz, they were completely in control of the mid game.
Did Splyce pull the trigger too quickly, too early? Because they had those plays in the bottom lane. You know, they did net some gains, but the cost was just too great. You know, losing that first tower blood, giving up your TP in the early game.
I think it's hard to say that Splyce really misplayed the early game. I think the Shen ultis were good from Wunder.
They were great ideas.
Yeah, he gets a kill in mid at first, and then the other one where Perkz outplays him. You can't really blame that on the play from Wunder specifically. That was just super well played from Perkz. Nothing more Shen could have done in the situation. And there were small things that kind of gave advantage in the start for G2. And then winning that first big mid-game fight obviously really tilted it towards them.
It's the situations where both teams kind of know exactly what the good plays are. That's where mechanical outplays matter the most and kind of get created. Perkz was getting ganked there. There was a beautiful collapse. You know, a global used in mid lane to get Perkz down. If Perkz dies there, that means mid lane towers under pressure, which potentially there's a roam to bottom lane. Mithy and Zven will have to play careful there. So everything could have been influenced, but then Perkz presses the button.
I mean, there was a lot more focus on macro in this game here specifically. Again, you said individual
macro and micro, right?
Yeah, both honestly, but especially macro is key to highlight because we've had all this, you know, criticism towards the European playoffs where a lot of teams haven't focused on it at all. We saw 1-3-1 setups, we saw Baron setups, we now follow all the steps. We saw obviously Perkz once had to go in and die, of course.
Get it out the system.
But, you know, he had to do it, he had to do it here in game 1, but we actually saw some very clean plays being set up, especially from G2, and some very good team fights from Splyce as well.
Crepo, to my uneducated eye, G2 come in looking much better prepared, much cleaner than their semi-final series. Is it a big step up, or is it just a symptom of getting 5,000 gold lead by 20 minutes?
I mean, they look coordinated in how they got that lead because they didn't get it to just sheer out laning. And for me, just most impressive is that Expect was able to hold his own, and Wunder, without a carry lane in the top lane, could only help his team. He couldn't kind of pioneer and spearhead the carry.
Well, I want to hear what the analyst desk has to say about the same question and about that top lane matchup. G2 has taken game 1 in the series. Let's let the analyst desk break it down.
Thank you very much, Trevor, and I will extend that question to our analysts here as well, who have been watching the game from the crowd for Jankos and Vander at least. How much better does G2 look, or how much better do they look just because they got so many thousand gold ahead in this game?
Well, I think overall G2 played much better in the semifinals. At the same time, we can't forget that the lead makes them play much better as well. I think they played their comp flawlessly. I think the only reason whatsoever the game was so long is simply because of Perkz. And he's
getting cut at as well.
I was about to praise his early game because him playing so well made Splyce look like a little puppies. But at some point,